What was Moses to do on Mount Nebo and why? This is a question we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Deuteronomy on walking through the Bible.
His word, the glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Deuteronomy 32. We're going to be reading from verses 44 to 52. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So Deuteronomy 32, beginning at verse 44. So Moses came with Joshua the son of Nun and spoke all the words of this song in the hearing of the people. Moses finished speaking all these words to all Israel, and he said to them, Set your hearts on all the words which I testify among you today, which you shall command your children to be careful to observe, all the words of this law. For there is not a futile thing for you, because it is your life, and by this word you shall prolong your days in the land, which you cross over to the Jordan to possess. Then the Lord spoke to Moses that very same day, saying, Go up this mountain of the Abiram, Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, across from Jericho, view the land of Canaan, which I give to the children of Israel as a possession, and die on the mountain which you ascend, and be gathered to your people, just as Aaron your brother died on Mount Hor, and was gathered to his people, because you trespassed against me among the children of Israel, at the waters of Meribah, Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin, because you did not hallow me in the midst of the children of Israel. Yet you shall see the land before you, though you shall not go there, into the land which I am giving to the children of Israel. Over the last 6 lessons, we were studying the Song of Moses. The song was supposed to be a song that would remind Israel of what lay ahead for them should they depart from obeying the word of the Lord. The song itself stood as a witness of God against Israel, showing Israel that God would indeed keep his promises. And even though we're not under the law of Moses today, this song can provide us the realization that God expects us to be obedient to Christ. And if we aren't, then certain judgment for sin lies ahead of us on the judgment day. So having now written the song, verse 44 says that Moses, along with Joshua, the soon-to-be new leader of Israel, spoke the words of the song in the hearing of the people. Among Moses' final instructions to Israel before his death was that they were to be careful to observe all the words of this law, with this song being an assistance in that. What would the law be to them? It would be their life, for obeying it would determine whether or not their days would be prolonged in the land. I don't know how many times Moses had said something similar to Israel in this book, but needless to say, it has been numerous. That's how important keeping the word of the law was to God. He had Moses repeat the instructions time and time again. This law was not simply suggestions, which would be nice for Israel to keep. No, they were commands of God expected of Israel to keep. When Israel sinned, yes, they could offer the sacrifices, but Israel was to follow the word of the Lord. If they did, they would be blessed. But of course, if they didn't, they would be cursed. In verses 48 to 52, we come to God's final instructions to Moses, said to have occurred on the same day that Moses taught Israel his song. Here God told Moses that he was to go unto Mount Nebo, which is among the mountains of Abiram, in the land of Moab, across from Jericho, so that he may view the promised land. It would be there, after seeing the land, that he would die, and be gathered to his people, just as his brother Aaron was when he died at Mount Hor, earlier in the book of Numbers. Now, for those viewers who haven't been studying with us all the way along, why was Moses only going to be allowed to see the land and not enter it? In Numbers chapter 20, verses 1 to 13, we read, Then the children of Israel, the whole congregation, came into the wilderness of Zin in the first month, and the people stayed in Kadesh, and Miriam died there and was buried there. Now there was no water for the congregation, so they gathered together against Moses and Aaron. And the people contended with Moses and spoke, saying, If only we had died when our brethren died before the Lord. Why have you brought up the assembly of the Lord into this wilderness, that we and our animals should die here? And why have you made us come out of Egypt to bring us to this evil place? It is not a place of grain or figs or vines or pomegranates, nor is there any water to drink. So Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly to the door of the tabernacle of meeting, and they fell on their faces. And the glory of the Lord appeared to them. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Take the rod, you and your brother Aaron, gather the congregation together. Speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will yield its water. Thus you shall bring water for them out of the rock, and give them drink to the congregation and their animals. So Moses took the rod from before the Lord as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly together before the rock. And he said to them, Hear now, you rebels, must we bring water for you out of this rock? Then Moses lifted up his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod, and water came out abundantly, and the congregation and their animals drank. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, Because you did not believe me, to hallow me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land which I have given them. This was the water of Meribah, because the children of Israel contended with the Lord, and he was hallowed among them. The sin of Moses wasn't adultery or lying or theft. It was failing to hallow the name of the Lord among the people, a people who at that time were murmuring against the Lord. This was an egregious sin for a prophet of the Lord to commit, and so even though Moses would be forgiven of this sin, as a punishment, God would not allow Moses to lead the people into the promised land. On numerous occasions we read of Moses trying to get the Lord to change his mind, but the Lord would not. However, the Lord did allow Moses to see the land, something we'll see, the Lord willing, in chapter 34. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Deuteronomy chapter 33, verses 1 to 6, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.